I think you've always got to experiment as an artist, push your boundaries, experiment, push your boundaries and look at different techniques, different ideas, because if you just use them, certain techniques, certain glazes, certain style, you might as well just work in a factory basically, and I don't want to do that. Been there, done that. You know, I want to be an artist who can push myself to different things, so I'm always trying out new stuff. New techniques. Questions I'm asked when I say I'm a ceramic artist, most people say, do you make tiles? And no, I don't really make tiles. I can make tiles, but no, I don't. And they just think of bathroom tiles, basically, or floor tiles. But yeah, I mean, I work contemporarily, and like I said, I come up with ideas, bizarre ideas sometimes. Some work, some don't. But I just run with it, and if it works okay, it works okay. If it doesn't, it doesn't. In the bin it goes. I first got into sculpting or sculpture way back in college. I painted most of my life, and when I went to college in Western-super-Mare, as part of the course, there was sculpture involved. I enjoyed the painting there, and the actual sculpture was new to me, working with 3D. And when I started doing that, I was just blown away basically. And I was collecting stuff off the beach and things like that to do sculptures with. And then in the next part of the course, it was working with clay, so I decided to combine the two and started making sculptures out of clay. Really, that's how I started. And it's just really progressed from there, through a degree and an MA now. Sculpture means to me, it's a way of life. It's not that I always make sculpture. It's a way of producing work which has got a narrative and has meaning and statement basically. And I can make statements through my sculpture. There is a freedom about my work. It's spontaneous. A lot of it is spontaneous. Not really planned or owned. And it seems to work well. Well, it works well for me. It's what I like. I try not to think too much when I'm actually doing something, and just let it flow. Just let the things flow. Which I think is a Zen thing, you know. Just keep it well in the moment, and just let the actual piece of sculpture take its course. I mean, I've obviously thought about it in the past, and I don't try and copy from drawings or anything like that. I'll look at a drawing, do a drawing in the sketchbook to see how it looks, but then I'll close the sketchbook and put that away. And whatever impression's left in my mind, that's what I do. When I build pieces, I use varying factors of building and building techniques, from cool building to slab building or thrown on the wheel, and I combine these. Normally with sculpture I make up a consistency of my own clay, either being paper clay or very rough grogged clay, so it brings out all the impurities in the clay which I've put in there basically, and it highlights a lot of these, and I think that evolves into the work and brings in a concept of I don't know, like the impurities in society and stuff like that. I think it works well. I've been doing this for a long time, basically. The post-industrial work hasn't got these impurities in there, because it's really only fired to earthenware. One, for a social issue really, because it's less firing time. It's a lower firing rate, which is good for the environment, which I tend to be doing more and more. I can get brighter colours with a lower firing technique, which I've been using, whereas higher firing techniques, you get duller colours basically. The post-industrial phase is part of the exhibition, which I did for my masters, which is more brighter colours. It's to give like a social narrative of things at times getting better, or the impression of things at times getting better. But the question is, are they? That is the ultimate question within that type of work. Are they getting better? I don't think ceramic sculpture gets the recognition it deserves, because ceramic is only, over the last 50 years, has been recognised as an art. So it's still very, very young, and some people still don't recognise it as an art, more of a craft. But I think there's two angles to it, and I do both. But as an art form, I think it's very easy to manipulate clay, to get it to do what you want it to do, basically. I mean, the only problem is within the firing, it don't particularly do, or doesn't respond, maybe complicated pieces in firing, how you would want them to react. But yeah, I think I don't think it's recognised within the art world too much. But yeah, I mean, I've been influenced by a great many sculptures and sculptors. Peter Forecast, he's one of my great influences, along with Sir Edward Palazzi, Anthony Cairo, Chalida. They do quite large sculptures. But Palazzi is really industrial in his robot period, which was great. But also painting as well. I look towards paintings to get ideas and influences, from Welsh painters through to industrial painters in the northwest, like Theodore Major and such. I'm very fascinated with history and bringing the Industrial Revolution into my work. It is really, I feel like an energy there, and it makes people aware of not only the nostalgic when Britain was great, maybe, but also the hardship and the social issues involved as well, and also the social issues involved today. I think deep down, yeah, subconsciously there is, yeah. I mean, the only machine you use is a wheel, you know, and that's electric. But and the kiln. But I mean, you can fire without an electric kiln. You can make without an electric wheel. So, you know, even hand building and such like, you know, it predates, going right back to before Christ, basically. In China, places Korea, Japan. It predates all of that pottery, basically. I think with the tool, you know, there's one or two sculpturing tools I use, sculpture knives, and I only use about 3. And it's like a wabi-sabi or a Zen thing, really. It's you get very attached to the tool. And it's like a bond, I think. And when you go to use a different tool, it's not quite the same, because you're using the process over and over and over again. And I got one tool that was the best £7 I'd ever spent, I think, on a little knife, and it's just use it, basically. You know. And if I mislay, it's like having your right arm closed. I believe in sculpture as a way of just portraying narratives and ideas, and forming them to let people form their own opinions and their own ideas about things. So I don't tend to tell them too much about it. I'm not very descriptive with it. Let them make up their mind what it's about. If I'm on the wheel, I centre the clay. There's only a certain amount you can do because you have to do things round basically on the wheel. But you can knock them into square shapes and such like afterwards if you want it. It's a quicker way of doing things. It's quicker than having a wheel. So that's why I use the wheel sometimes, because it's a piece of industrial equipment which can turn out things fairly fast. Or components fairly fast. I make all the different pieces and then put them together. Some of them are hand built, some of them are on the wheel. I make a set of components and then put them together and just to make a piece. Ceramic art in the world is okay because there'll always be Japanese potters in the USA. They're very big on it, and I think abroad it's looked on in a different way. The actual art is looked on in a different way, and they tend to respect it a little bit more. But here in the UK, I think it's dying a death, really. Without more people coming through, I think it will eventually die because they're taking kilns out of schools. Because it costs too much money, basically. It's a lot cheaper to put a computer in there than there's a kiln, or half a dozen computers probably. Plus, you need someone to know how to use it, which is another thing. So I think it's a dying art. But I hope it will carry on, and I hope to teach a few people and get them involved and start making a few clay objects, whatever, even if it's only hand building. A journey, it's not really, like I said before, the final outcome. It's doing it, being there and doing it. That is the journey, and it's a great feeling going on that journey. I don't feel a failure or not being successful is any part of it really, because it's the journey. Journey you make, whether you make money out or you don't make money out. If people have got an interest in it or interest in what you're doing, or if you've got an interest in what you're doing, it doesn't really matter. But ceramics and clay give you another day's play, basically. It's like playing again.